There is no neutral ground. Every single day, you are either writing your story or being written into someone else's. There's no standing still. There's no middle lane. Life is happening with or without your permission. And if you don't rise up and decide who you are, where you're going, and what you're building, someone else will decide for you. The system already has a plan. It's written in deadlines that aren't yours, in goals that don't fulfill you, in rules that shrink your soul. And if you're not awakefully awake, you'll slip into it like a suit that doesn't fit and wear it like it was meant for you. But deep down, you'll know that this life doesn't feel like it's yours, that this job, this path, this rhythm, it's scripted. It's safe. It's survivable, but it is not yours. And if you don't break that cycle, it will bury your potential, not in one blow, but in tiny, comfortable compromises. The meetings you didn't say no to, the dreams you kept putting off, the calendar you filled with everything but your own soul's work. And then one day you look up and wonder, how did I get here? The answer, you didn't choose. You drifted. Because drifting is easy. It's rewarded. It looks responsible, but it's just dressed up delay. And let me tell you something, most people won't. If you don't wake up every single day with a plan for your life, you will be pulled into someone else's. And here's what they have planned for you. Not much. Maybe a role, maybe a number, maybe a salary, but not your legacy, not your destiny, not your truth. Because those things must be built deliberately, brick by brick, with sweat, with silence, with intention. No one will hand you your dream life in a meeting. You won't find it on a job board. You won't be promoted into your purpose. You have to plan it, design it, define it so clearly that the world can no longer offer you anything that doesn't match it. That starts in the mind. You need a mindset that is not reactive, but sovereign. A mindset that doesn't check the temperature of the day before deciding to show up. A mindset that no longer takes orders from fear or trends or other people's expectations. Because mindset is where all movement begins. You don't get clarity from waiting. You get clarity from choosing to lead. And when your mindset shifts, so does everything else. You begin to see that belief is not a luxury. It's a requirement. You must believe in your own authority to craft your life. You must believe that your ideas have weight, that your preferences matter, that your vision is not just valid, it's non-negotiable. Without that belief, you'll keep handing over the pen to bosses, to partners, to algorithms, to people who have no idea what you were born to do, but are more than happy to write your role into their plot. Belief is what makes you impossible to manipulate. When you know who you are, you become dangerous to systems built on conformity. And from belief flows clarity, real clarity. Not just what you want to do, but who you want to become. Because when you get clear on your identity, you stop trying to fit in where you were never meant to stay. You stop asking, how do I make this work? And start asking, what is this costing me? Clarity exposes the compromises. It reveals the hours spent building someone else's dream while yours sits untouched. It reveals the meetings that drain you, the people who don't get you, the goals that aren't yours. And from clarity comes vision, not a wish list, not a Pinterest board, but a vivid, defined, gut-level knowing of what your life must become. So strong you can feel it in your bones. So loud it drowns out the noise. Vision that says, this is where I'm going. And anything that doesn't align, it's gone. That kind of vision makes you magnetic. It makes you immovable. It makes you inevitable. But it only becomes real when you pair it with discipline. Discipline is the structure that holds the dream in place. Without it, your vision is just fantasy. With it, your vision becomes inevitable. Discipline says, I choose me, even when no one claps, even when no one sees, even when it's hard and quiet and slow. Discipline says, my goals are not negotiable. My standards are not suggestions, and my dream does not exist to fit someone else's timeline. You show up not because it's easy, but because it's yours. And when you combine belief, clarity, vision, and discipline, you reclaim something sacred, your time, because time is the most valuable thing you own. And every second you don't spend building your dream is a second spent building someone else's. And when you understand the value of time, truly feel it deep in your bones, you begin to treat your life like what it is, non-refundable. You stop giving your best hours to meaningless meetings. You stop saying yes to plans that don't serve your mission. You stop living on someone else's schedule and start honoring your divine urgency, because life doesn't wait and legacy doesn't build itself. You begin to move with gratitude, not the soft, casual kind, but the kind that says, every hour I get is a privilege. Every breath is a resource, and I refuse to waste them living someone else's dream. Gratitude grounds you. It reminds you that you're already equipped, that you're not starting from nothing. You're starting from enough. And from that rooted place, you become adaptable, because life will test your plans. It will throw punches. It will shift timelines. But if your character is intact, if your clarity is real, you won't break. You'll adjust. You'll bend without folding. You'll pivot without panicking, because your mission isn't attached to method. Your purpose isn't bound to comfort. You're not here to be flexible in your standards, only flexible in your strategy. That's real resilience, not bouncing back, but bouncing forward, transforming setbacks into stepping stones, using failure as a forge, not a finish line. And every time you rise again, you become stronger, smarter, sharper, wiser, because you're learning, not just about the world, but about yourself. Learning that you don't need all the answers. You just need the conviction to keep asking better questions. Learning that feedback isn't failure. It's refinement. It's clarity. It's the raw material of growth. And with every lesson, you get more dangerous, more aligned, more unstoppable, because now you are living on purpose, not reacting architecting, not waiting waking, not hoping building. And the people around you will feel it. Your standards will speak before you do. Your energy will shift rooms. Your consistency will earn you access. Your vision will inspire others to ask themselves, whose plan am I living? Because once you've tasted a life that's truly yours, you can never go back. You become allergic to small talk, to shallow goals, to environments that dilute you. You protect your time like treasure. You protect your mind like a fortress. You protect your soul like it's the blueprint of something eternal. And now, you don't just have a plan, you are the plan. You walk like it. You speak like it. You live like it. With intention, with precision, with fire. Because if you don't plan your life, someone else will use you in theirs. And now, you're done being used. You're done being driftwood. You're done being a background character in someone else's story. You are the author. You are the leader. You are the architect. And from this moment forward, you live like it. Then hear this, not as advice, but as a call to arms. Because your life is not a rehearsal. This is it. This is the show. And the curtain is already rising. No more postponing your greatness. No more editing your dreams to fit someone else's comfort. No more sleepwalking through a life that doesn't belong to you. You don't need more time. You don't need more approval. You don't need more signs. You just need one thing, ownership. The quiet, relentless, powerful decision to say, this life is mine. Every hour, every choice, every breath, mine. And because it's mine, I will no longer give away my calendar, my confidence, or my calling to people who didn't earn it. I will no longer confuse distraction with duty. I will no longer mistake busy for a line. I will no longer chase what looks good and abandon what feels right. From this moment forward, I rise on purpose. I move with intent. I walk like the architect of something that outlives me. I write my days in ink, not pencil. I protect my peace like an empire. And I guard my dream like it already changed the world. Because the truth is brutal but simple. If you don't plan your life, someone else will use you in theirs. And when that happens, you don't just lose time, you lose yourself. But not anymore. Not you. Not now. You are done renting your life out by the hour. You are done living from the outside in. You are done mistaking existence for impact. Now, you live like a blueprint in motion, a plan in human form, a purpose with a pulse. And when they ask, who gave you permission to live this boldly? You'll answer without flinching, I did, because I stopped living inside their story and started writing my own. Now go, write it, live it, be it. Because once you step into that authority, once you stop waiting for life to choose you and you start choosing yourself, you awaken a force inside you that nothing outside of you can stop. You no longer respond to pressure. You create it. You no longer fit into plans. You command the blueprint. You no longer ask, what if I fail? Instead, you declare, what if I don't show up and the world misses what only I could bring? Because this isn't just about your goals. This is about your impact. This is about every person your courage will unlock. Every generation your discipline will influence. Every room your alignment will shift. You are not just living your life. You are leading by example. And every time you say yes to your own plan, you give silent permission for others to rise. So live bold, live, structured, live tuned to your highest frequency. Not someday, but now. Not when it's convenient, but especially when it's hard. Not when it's safe, but especially when it feels uncertain. That's how you claim your freedom. That's how you leave a mark. That's how you rise from average to aligned, from passive to powerful, from surviving to sovereign. And if anyone asks how you built all this, how you created a life that reflects your deepest truth, you'll look them in the eye and say, I planned it relentlessly, religiously, because no one was ever going to hand it to me. So I stopped waiting. I designed it. I protected it. And I never let the world write my story again. And that is how legacies are born. Not by chance, but by choice. By people who had the audacity to plan their own lives when everyone else was handing theirs away. The saddest thing about life is not death. It's to get to the end and realize you never truly lived. You didn't burn through the flame of your calling. You didn't shape your days with intention. You didn't follow the fire, you just stared at the smoke. This world is full of people buried with dreams still inside them. Books unwritten, ideas unspoken, businesses unbuilt, impact unmade. Not because they were lazy, but because they were waiting for permission, waiting for clarity, waiting for a sign louder than their excuses. And they had potential, so much of it. You could feel it in their words, in their spirit, in their dreams whispered late at night. But they never lived with purpose. So they died with it all, still trapped inside. Don't let that be you, because life is not about potential. Potential is nothing without direction. Potential without purpose is just wasted genius in disguise. Purpose is the great activator. It is the force that gives every action meaning, every day structure, every breath weight. You don't find purpose. You choose it. You commit to it. You craft it out of who you are and who you refuse to die without becoming. Purpose starts in the mind. It begins with the decision to live your life as if it actually matters. Because the truth is this: you will either live on default or live on design. And default is cheap. It costs you everything. It's waking up and drifting through routines built by other people. It's chasing safety, chasing salary, chasing what's expected. It's mistaking motion for meaning and busyness for bravery. But design, that takes courage. It takes ownership. It takes the radical decision to say, I will no longer rent my life to the opinions of others. Design means you sit down, look yourself in the eye, and define what matters. Define who you are. Define what you stand for and what you will no longer tolerate. From that clarity comes belief. Belief that you're not here by accident. Belief that your life is the message. Belief that playing small doesn't protect you, it imprisons you. You were not given breath to blend in. You were not born just to pay bills and scroll away your brilliance. You were not meant to live half awake and call that survival. You were built to burn with focus, with fire, with purpose. And purpose requires discipline because the world will try to distract you. Every single day, it will hand you someone else's schedule, someone else's emergency, someone else's dream. And if you don't have discipline, you will fall into their plan. And trust me, their plan for you is never as big as the one you could build yourself. Discipline is the daily contract you sign with your highest self. It's what says, I'm not here for comfort. I'm here for contribution. It's what pulls you out of bed when the mood fades. It's what guides your actions when no one's watching. Because purpose without structure becomes noise. And you're not here to make noise. You're here to make impact. Discipline anchors that impact into action. And action real, repeated, refined action becomes the echo of your character. It says more than your words ever could. It speaks for you when you're tired. It builds a body of work that doesn't beg to be seen. It demands to be respected. But even as you act, you must stay grateful. Gratitude doesn't make you soft. It makes you solid. It reminds you that you've already survived 100% of your worst days. It sharpens your awareness, so you stop chasing what others have and start recognizing what's already in your hands. Because your purpose isn't hiding in some distant destination. It's buried beneath the noise. It's waiting in the silence. It's standing right in front of you, disguised as the thing you keep telling yourself you're not ready for. But you are. You've always been. Not because you're perfect, but because you're willing to rise, willing to build, willing to become. This is what separates those who live on fire from those who die full of dreams. The ones who don't wait to feel ready. The ones who move anyway. The ones who wake up with a vow in their chest that says, I will not let my life expire unused. Because potential is a beautiful thing, but it is not a guarantee. It is a gift. And if you don't use it, it becomes regret. So you must choose. Choose to burn the old excuses. Choose to bury the distractions. Choose to live like today might be your last shot to make it count. Because it might be. Because once you've made that choice to live, not just with energy, but with intention, you start to understand that life doesn't bend for the talented. It bends for the resilient. Because purpose isn't protected by perfect conditions. Purpose is proven in pressure. And if you plan to live this life wide awake, on fire, on mission, then you must become someone who can adapt. Because purpose doesn't mean comfort. It means constant recalibration. The path will twist. The timing will shift. The plan will change. But the principle must remain. I am not here to coast. I am here to climb. Adaptability isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's knowing when to bend without breaking. when to move without losing momentum, when to shift your method but never touch your mission. It's the discipline of adjusting the sails when the wind changes and still reaching the shore. And when storms come, because they will, you'll need more than vision. You'll need resilience, the kind that doesn't ask for sympathy, the kind that doesn't make excuses, the kind that says, you can test me, you can delay me, but you cannot deny me, because purpose plants roots. And when you're rooted, no storm can uproot you. You don't run when it's hard. You dig deeper. Resilience is what carries you through the silent seasons, when no one claps, when nothing's trending, when you wonder if any of this is even working. That's when most people give up. Not because they couldn't win, but because they couldn't wait. But you know, waiting isn't weakness when it's active. You don't wait in place. You wait while building, while studying, while becoming, because learning never stops when you're living with purpose. You're not here to be the smartest in the room. You're here to be the sharpest. You learn from failure. You learn from delay. You learn from the pain, the pause, the pressure. Every chapter becomes a class. Every setback becomes strategy. And eventually, you realize something powerful. You are not who you were when you started this. You are stronger, clearer, deeper. You've outgrown old fears. You've retired the old excuses. You've stopped waiting to become ready, because now you are the readiness. You've gone from dreamer to doer, from potential to purpose, from possibility to proof. And now the world can feel it. You don't move the same. You don't speak the same. You don't settle the same, because purpose has rewired you. You've stopped chasing applause. You've stopped borrowing your identity from approval. You've stopped asking for permission to shine. Now you lead. Now you own. Now you live in a way that makes the word potential irrelevant, because you've activated it. You don't just inspire. You impact. You don't just talk change. You are change. And the world will feel that in your words, in your work, in your wake. Then let this be the moment everything changes. Not someday. Not when you feel more ready. Not when it's more convenient. Now, because you've seen the difference. You've felt the contrast. You know what it's like to have potential, and you've tasted what it means to live with purpose. And there is no going back. You can't unsee what you now know. You can't unfeel the fire that's been lit. You can't unknow that your life, your one and only life, was never meant to be ordinary. It was meant to shift the atmosphere, to ripple through generations, to stand as proof that someone once had the audacity to live fully. Because purpose isn't a possession. It's a path. It's a discipline. It's a declaration you make with every breath that says, I will not leave this earth full of potential. I will leave it empty. Empty of every dream I turned into reality. Every idea I executed. Every ounce of energy I poured into something meaningful. So from this moment forward, you don't just exist. You build. You burn. You become. You wake up not asking, what do I have to do? You wake up declaring, what am I called to do? And how fully can I show up for it today? You stop chasing a life of comfort and start constructing a life of contribution. You don't hoard your talent. You harvest it. You don't water down your voice. You amplify it, because there are people waiting on the other side of your courage. People who need your words, your work, your vision. People who will be freed because you decided to live on purpose. And if you ever feel tired, remember, you're not tired from the work. You're tired from the weight of potential you've yet to convert into reality. Purpose doesn't drain you. It fuels you, because it aligns your soul with your schedule, your gift with your grind, your fire with your focus. And when that happens, you don't just build wealth. You build worth. You build witness. You build a legacy so loud it echoes long after your voice is gone. So, ask yourself, when it's all said and done, what will they say about you? That you had potential? Or that you fulfilled it? That you played it safe? Or that you lit the world on fire with your purpose? The choice was always yours. So live like it. Burn like it. Be it. Because the greatest tragedy is not death. The greatest tragedy is dying with purpose still trapped inside you. Now go. Live with it. Breathe with it. Lead with it. Because you were never meant to die with potential. You were born to live with purpose. It doesn't matter how hard you work. If your mind is working against you, it doesn't matter how much action you take. If your thoughts are infected with fear, doubt, and scarcity, it doesn't matter how disciplined your habits are. If your identity is still tied to the old version of you, mindset is the multiplier. It's the force that takes every small step and amplifies its return, or strangles it before it ever compounds. Because action without mindset is motion without power. It's pouring effort into a container full of holes. It's running fast in the wrong direction. It's building towers on sand and wondering why they fall. But when the mind is right, when the belief is deep, when the internal narrative is anchored in strength, suddenly everything changes. Small habits become breakthroughs. 1-hour sessions become identity shifts. One idea becomes a movement. One act of courage becomes a life rebuilt from the inside out. That is the power of mindset. It's not hype. It's not positive thinking. It's not tricking yourself into feeling good. It's rebuilding the operating system of your life. Because if you don't do that first, your strategies will fail. Your vision will fade. Your discipline will feel like punishment, not purpose. You don't need more tips. You don't need more tactics. You need to get your mind clean, strong, quiet, and clear. Because you can't execute what you don't believe in. You won't chase a future you don't feel worthy of. You won't protect a goal that doesn't feel like you. Mindset isn't one category of growth. It's the foundation of all growth. Every result in your life is a delayed reflection of your internal dialogue. Not what you say out loud, but what you say in the dark, when no one's watching, when nothing's working, when every external signal says you can't. Mindset is what answers, I will. And that mindset it is built, not found. It's not gifted to the talented. It's forged by the committed. It's sculpted through repetition, through choosing strength when weakness is easier, through feeding courage, not excuses, through learning how to speak to yourself like you matter, like your future deserves better than your past, because it does, and it always has. Mindset is how you take average effort and get extraordinary return. It's how you take failure and extract fuel. It's how you take discomfort and find growth. It multiplies your focus. It magnifies your habits. It compounds your courage. Because when your mind is set, your choices are automatic. Your self-respect is high. Your momentum becomes sacred. And your tolerance for anything less than excellence disappears. Mindset is what tells you, I will finish what I start. I will build what I envision. I will outlast what tries to break me. You don't need a new life. You need a new lens. Because the life you want might already be here. You just can't see it through a broken mindset. Fix the lens. The world changes. You change. Because once your mindset is clean, belief begins to breathe. Not the belief you say when others are listening. The belief you feel in your bones when the room is empty. The kind that doesn't flinch when things go wrong. The kind that doesn't need proof to act. The kind that says, even if no one claps, I will still build. That belief is the fuel behind every world-class result. It's the invisible scaffolding of your success. It's what allows you to walk into the unknown with conviction instead of hesitation. Because belief is not about knowing it'll work. Belief is about deciding that even if it doesn't, you will. You'll adapt. You'll evolve. You'll find another way. Belief makes the impossible inevitable, not because the path is easy, but because the person walking it is unwavering. And that belief doesn't live in isolation. It births something deeper, something rarer. Vision. Vision is not a wish list. It's not a mood board. It's not a fantasy. Vision is internal architecture. It's the future you've already seen, and now you're just reverse engineering it. It's where your clarity is born, where your focus sharpens, where your actions stop coming from pressure and start coming from identity. When your vision is real, you move different. You don't need to convince yourself to grind. You don't need to debate whether it's worth it. You don't chase dopamine. You chase alignment. And when your mindset, belief, and vision lock in together, purpose arrives, not in a loud bang, but in a steady voice that says, this is it. This is the life you were built to live. This is the lane that was etched into your DNA. This is the mission that makes the pain make sense. And when you have purpose, discipline is not hard. Discipline is home. It's not a grind. It's honor. It's not punishment. It's precision. Purpose makes the hard work feel holy. Purpose makes time sacred. Purpose makes sacrifice a gift, not a loss. Because when you're operating in purpose, you don't measure success by what you get. You measure it by what you give, by how deep you serve, by how long you stay in the fight after others fold. This is why mindset matters. Because without it, belief never wakes up. Vision stays blurry. Purpose never lands. And action becomes effort without soul. But with it, you become unstoppable. Not because you're faster, not because you're smarter, but because you're aligned with yourself, aligned with your future, aligned with the truth that nothing external has power over someone whose inner world is unshakable. Because when mindset aligns with belief, vision, and purpose, a discipline becomes inevitable, not forced, not faked, inevitable. You no longer have to drag yourself into action. Because now, you've become someone who doesn't need to be convinced. You've become someone who simply moves. Discipline is not the grind. It's not the hustle porn they sell you online. It's not about burning out for the badge of being busy. Discipline is the sacred rhythm of those who are clear on who they are. It is the language of people who are not available for average. It is the armor of people who don't let their feelings decide their future. And when your mindset is locked in, you stop asking, can I do it? You start declaring, this is what we do. Because now it's not about motivation. It's not about how you feel. It's about what's embedded in your identity. And identity is shaped by your daily decisions. The small, repetitive, invisible ones. The ones you think don't matter until they do. Until they become the fabric of who you are. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise or fall to the level of your systems. And your systems are simply what you do without thinking. The actions you've repeated so many times that they've become part of your nature. And when your mindset is sharp, you begin to install those patterns with precision. Because you understand now, action is the proof of belief. If you say you believe but you don't move, then you don't believe. You're still flirting with the idea. But when belief is real, action becomes non-negotiable. You get up early not because someone told you to, but because your future is calling, and you refuse to send it to voicemail. You train your body not to look good in photos, but to build the mental toughness required to carry your calling. You read, you write, you reflect, you study, you repeat, not because it's trendy, but because it's true. You act, not because of what it gives you, but because of who it makes you. Because every action either confirms or contradicts your identity. And when your identity is clear, when your mindset is fixed on truth, your momentum becomes explosive. Momentum is not magic. It's math. It's the result of consistent actions rooted in a solid mindset, multiplied by purpose, compounded by discipline, executed daily, especially when it's hardest. That's when momentum catches fire. That's when ordinary people become extraordinary. Not because they had more talent, but because they stacked their mindset until their identity became unbreakable. Because once identity locks in and momentum begins to build, you are no longer moved by circumstances. You are moved by standards. And when your life is built on standards instead of feelings, you become untouchable. But untouchable doesn't mean arrogant. It means anchored. It means rooted. It means no matter what the world throws at you, you are not leaving your lane. And from this place, gratitude becomes your superpower. Because now, you're not just moving fast. You're moving aware. You don't take progress for granted. You honor it. You don't just chase the next goal. You celebrate who you've already become. Gratitude is not passive. It is powerful. It grounds your fire so it doesn't burn you out. It reminds you that this exact momentous, the miracle. And gratitude doesn't slow your drive. It sharpens it. Because now, every breath is fuel. Every setback is perspective. Every morning is a privilege. Every rep is legacy. And when gratitude and discipline walk together, you become adaptable because you don't panic when the plan breaks. You pivot. You respond. You adjust without apology. You stop being addicted to how it's supposed to go because you know the vision stays, but the route can evolve. Adaptability is the maturity of the focused. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. It's the ability to shift course without shifting identity. And that's where resilience is born. Not in the mountaintop moments, but in the middle, in the tension, in the days where nothing works, but you refuse to break. Resilience isn't loud. It doesn't post. It doesn't beg for sympathy. It builds. It gets quiet. It gets still. And it moves anyway. Resilience is the scar that says, I've been hit harder than this, and I'm still standing. You don't just survive the storm. You become steel because of it. And now, everything has changed. Because now, you're not chasing goals. You're living in a new identity. You're not hoping for transformation. You are transformation. And it all began with one truth. Mindset is the multiplier. It's the thread that wove together your beliefs, your habits, your clarity, your purpose, your systems, your momentum, your endurance, your becoming. And so now the world may see the results, but you know the real win happened long before they applauded. It happened in the quiet, in the dark, in the silence of your inner world. When you chose to master your mind before you tried to master your life. This is the truth the world forgets. The quality of your mindset determines the quality of your results. Your mindset is your amplifier. It's your filter. It's your engine. It's your compass. It's your multiplier. So protect it, train it, feed it, challenge it, build it. Guard it like your future depends on it, because it does. And when they ask how you did it, when they ask how you created peace in chaos, clarity in pressure, progress through pain, you'll say, I mastered the multiplier. I fixed the mind and the life followed. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how connected you are. It doesn't even matter how passionate you are, because the world doesn't pay for potential, it pays for proof. And proof is built by discipline. The ones with more money than you, they don't always have more talent. They don't always have more education, but they do have more discipline. Discipline to wake up when others sleep. Discipline to say no when everyone else is saying yes. Discipline to delay pleasure for purpose. Discipline to do it again and again and again until mastery shows up at the door. Money's not hiding from you. It's just following the person who refuses to break their routine, who refuses to lower their standard, who refuses to live beneath their calling just because it's comfortable. Discipline is not just a habit, it is the gatekeeper to wealth. It is the difference between temporary success and lasting prosperity. Because anyone can hustle, anyone can sprint, but only the disciplined can build a life that runs on structure instead of chaos. Discipline is the foundation, the non-negotiable, the silent engine that produces loud results. You want to earn more? Get more discipline. Your bank account is just a scoreboard for your current level of self-leadership. Not how hard you work, how consistent you are. Not how much you know, how often you apply what you know. Money doesn't care about your good intentions. It follows execution. It flows to the person who keeps their word when no one's watching, who gets it done without applause, who keeps showing up when motivation dies, and all that's left is commitment. That's who money follows. Not the one who posts the most, not the one who sounds the best, but the one who finishes what they start no matter what. Discipline is the difference between the person who almost made it and the person who made it inevitable. But don't confuse discipline with perfection. You will slip. You will fall. You will break the plan. But the disciplined rise faster. They course correct. They don't negotiate their comeback, they schedule it. Because discipline isn't about flawless execution. It's about faithfulness to the path. It's about honoring your future self more than your current comfort. It's easy to act aligned when it's exciting. But discipline is the decision you make when it's boring, when no one is looking, when every voice inside of you says, just take the day off. And you say, not today. My future matters too much. That's when you shift. That's when you elevate. That's when you begin to live at a frequency the undisciplined cannot comprehend. They don't understand why you pass on parties. They don't understand why you wake up early. They don't understand why you grind in silence. But they'll understand when the check's clear. They'll understand when your peace is unshakable. They'll understand when your lifestyle is funded by discipline, not desperation. Discipline is the currency of freedom. And the more of it you spend, the richer your life becomes. Not just financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Because discipline trains you to trust yourself. And a person who trusts themselves is unstoppable. They don't need constant validation. They don't need constant inspiration. They don't live at the mercy of how they feel. Because their identity is tied to their integrity. They don't just do what works. They do what's aligned. And that alignment becomes a magnet for people, for resources, for opportunity, and yes, for money, because money follows systems. Money follows structure. Money follows the person who stays ready. So let this be your new code. If it costs your discipline, it's too expensive. If it breaks your structure, it's not worth it. If it pulls you out of alignment, it's not part of your wealth plan. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters longer, better, and deeper. And the only way to do that is to follow your discipline like your future depends on it, because it does. Money is already on the move. It's looking for leadership. It's looking for consistency. It's looking for a home that's been built on routine and reinforced with non-negotiables. So don't chase money. Chase mastery. Chase structure. Chase the version of you who makes discipline look divine. And the money? It will follow. It must follow. Because it was designed to serve those who govern themselves well. Because once you anchor your life in discipline, clarity isn't a bonus, it's a byproduct. When you show up with consistency, you start to see what others miss. You spot patterns. You sense timing. You hear the voice of your future louder than the noise of the world. Clarity comes not from thinking more, but from doing with discipline. The more you act in alignment, the less confusion can survive. The more you move with intention, the less distraction can pull you. Because clarity doesn't live in contemplation. It lives in completion, in finishing what you said you'd do, in becoming the kind of person whose word carries weight first with yourself and then with the world. When you have clarity, you stop guessing. You stop dabbling. You stop hoping success will stumble across your path. You start designing it. You build days that serve your dream. You build systems that scale your energy. You build standards that repel everything that dilutes your destiny. And from that clarity comes vision. Not fantasy, not wish lists. Vision. The kind of vision that doesn't wait for approval. The kind that doesn't need applause. The kind that pulls you through fire because you know what's waiting on the other side. When you follow discipline long enough, you no longer wonder what's possible. You see it. You taste it. You walk like it's already done. Vision isn't just about what you want. It's about who you're willing to become to deserve it. It's not about dreaming bigger. It's about operating differently. Because a real vision doesn't just motivate you. It converts you. It burns the old you to the ground so the new you can walk forward. Not fragile, but forged. That's why discipline is non-negotiable. Because without it, vision dies in the fog. But with it, you become a vessel for something so much larger than goals. You become a builder of systems, of legacies, of standards that elevate generations. And then comes the test. Because every vision worth having will demand resilience. Not once, not twice, every single day. The world will try to shake it from you. Distractions will try to drain it. Failure will try to redefine it. But if discipline has trained you to rise without mood, clarity will remind you of where you're going, and vision will not let you quit. You will get knocked down. But resilience doesn't prevent pain, it transcends it. It says, this is temporary. My vision is eternal. My commitment is sacred. My discipline is stronger than this detour. You bounce back. Not because you're stronger than the storm, but because you trained in it. You stop fearing failure. You start respecting it. Because every mistake is now a message. Every loss is a lesson. Every rejection is a refinement. That's the person money follows. The one who didn't flinch. The one who stood tall when everyone else collapsed into convenience. The one who kept planting seeds in drought because they knew the harvest was promised to the prepared. And when that harvest comes, when the results finally catch up with the relentless rhythm of your discipline, it won't feel like a surprise. It'll feel like alignment. Like the world is just now realizing what you've known for years. That discipline is not about restriction. It's about releasing your highest self. It's about unlocking the life that was always yours once you got serious enough to sustain it. Then let's bring it all home. Not quietly, but like thunder. Not with motivation, but with revolution. Not with noise, but with identity. Because now you know. You've seen the pattern. You've felt the rhythm. You've remembered what most people spend their entire life trying to forget. That freedom is never random. And money doesn't answer to desire. It answers to discipline. You don't need luck. You need structure. You don't need hype. You need habits. You don't need more time. You need more focus. The marketplace doesn't reward the person who wants it most. It rewards the person who follows their discipline no matter what. When it's hard, when it's quiet, when no one claps, when it doesn't feel good, when the temptation to slip is louder than the reason you started. That's the test. That's the gate. That's the threshold most never cross. Because it's easier to be motivated once than to be disciplined daily. But only one of those makes you unshakable. Because when discipline is your identity, you don't need willpower, you have ritual. You don't need reminders. You have structure. You don't rely on emotion. You rely on non-negotiables. And suddenly the world bends. People start calling you consistent. They start asking how you stay so focused. They start wondering how you produce results without burning out. It's not magic. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's that you became the kind of person money chases. You build habits so bulletproof, a mindset so mature, an operating system so calibrated that money had no choice. It followed the structure. It followed the consistency. It followed the person who followed their discipline like it was divine law. Because it is. Discipline is divine. It is how humans shape destiny. It is how the invisible becomes visible. It is how the impossible becomes inevitable. And you are no longer waiting to see what happens. You are what's happening. You are no longer chasing money. You are the reason it flows. You are no longer hoping for change. You are living proof of what happens when someone chooses structure over struggle. So let this be your vow, to never again betray the discipline that built your peace, to never again choose comfort over calling, to never again shrink your structure to fit someone else's pace. You've earned this level, not through flair, through faithfulness, not through genius, through grit, not through shortcuts, through standards. And now you rise every morning, every hour, every moment, disciplined because you are no longer waiting for the reward. You are the reward. You are the asset. You are the advantage. You are the one who decided to follow your discipline until the world had no choice but to follow you back. So go, live it, be it. Walk like your structure has already paid off. Think like your vision is already funded. Move like your legacy is already echoing through generations you'll never meet. Because money doesn't lead. It follows. And it follows the person who follows their discipline. Without fail, without fear, without compromise. You are that person now. Now build like it. Now lead like it. Now earn like it. Now breathe like it. Breathe like someone who's free, not because the world handed you anything, but because you built the system that no one could take away. Stand like it. Stand with posture, with presence, with power that comes from 1,000 silent wins. Wins no one celebrated but you. Wins stacked in solitude. Wins forged in moments where quitting would have been easier than becoming. Speak like it. Let your words carry the weight of someone who didn't flinch when life got loud. Speak from depth, not noise. From truth, not trends. From experience, not ego. Decide like it. No more hesitation. No more second guessing. No more voting on your future with the fears of your past. You're not here to dabble. You're here to dominate your lane with discipline. Show up like it. In every room, in every space, in every season, with the same hunger, the same standards, the same relentless execution that got you here without shortcuts, without permission, without apology. Because now the world can feel it. You don't chase momentum anymore. You are momentum. You don't hustle for scraps. You build systems that print value. You don't just survive. You scale. This is what happens when discipline becomes your identity, when structure becomes your strategy, when integrity becomes your brand. Everything aligns. Your mind sharpens. Your energy multiplies. Your income rises. Not randomly, not suddenly, but inevitably, because you stopped asking, how long will it take? And started declaring, as long as it takes, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm not leaving. That is who you are now. Not the one who needs the motivation, but the one who creates the standard others measure themselves against. And when they ask you one day, what was the secret? Smile and say what few will ever understand. I followed my discipline until money had no choice but to follow me. Success is not a chase. It is not a hunt, a sprint, a mad race into the unknown. You do not lunge at it, grasp for it, or demand it into your hands. No success is something you attract, not by effort alone, not by urgency or desperation, but by the person you become. It is magnetic, and you, whether you realize it or not, are a living magnet. Every day you are pulling things into your life not by accident, not by chance, but by vibration, by alignment, by the energy of your thoughts, the weight of your habits, the depth of your self-image. You don't get what you want. You get who you are. So if you want more, don't reach outward. Reach inward. Dig. Strip back the layers of distraction and vanity. Lay your soul bare. Ask yourself not, how do I get ahead? But what must I become to deserve what I seek? Because success does not respond to need. It responds to value. And your value rises when you do. Most people never understand this. They chase goals like shadows, clawing, grinding, hustling not, realizing the thing they're chasing is fleeing because it doesn't recognize them yet. They have not become the version of themselves who can hold what they seek. And so, even if it arrives, it slips through their fingers like smoke. But the wise do not run. They rise. They rise in the morning with purpose. They rise in challenge with power. They rise in failure with perspective. They rise not because it's easy, but because they know the only way to attract more is to become more. Your life will never outgrow your identity. And so it begins with the most sacred territory of all, the mind. Your mindset is not a tool. It is a temple. It is not what you visit when it's convenient. It's what you live in. Every belief you hold, every thought you repeat, every word you speak is shaping your future. You cannot attract abundance with a mind soaked in scarcity. You cannot attract strength with thoughts soaked in fear. You cannot attract greatness if you're still loyal to your limitations. So, clean house. Audit your inner world. Dismantle the mental architecture that keeps you trapped. Tear down the ceilings you've built with your doubts. Burn the blueprint of good enough. And begin again this time with vision. See yourself clearly. Not through the eyes of your failures. Not through the lens of your past. But through the eyes of possibility. Ask yourself, what would the highest version of me believe? And then begin believing it before the world gives you permission. Because belief is the seed of all attraction. You don't attract what's possible. You attract what you expect. The world mirrors your inner certainty. It reflects your self-image. It does not respond to begging, it responds to conviction. And conviction is born the moment you say, this is who I am now. This is what I do. This is what I stand for. Not, I'll try. Not, I hope. But I am. And when your identity is upgraded, your standards follow. You stop settling for half-hearted efforts. You stop tolerating circles that dim your flame. You stop explaining your hunger to people who've never tasted purpose. You don't just move differently. You vibrate differently. And everything around you begins to shift. Because clarity arrives like thunder. And when it does, it cuts through the fog. You're no longer confused. You're no longer distracted. You're no longer pulled by every shiny object on the horizon. You know who you are. You know where you're going. And everything else becomes noise. Clarity is the great filter. It makes decision-making easy. You stop chasing opportunities and start attracting alignment. You say yes to your mission and no 1,000 times no to anything that pulls you from it. Because when you are clear, you are dangerous. And when clarity meets vision, your life catches fire. Vision is not about fantasy. It's not about what looks good on paper. Vision is the soul's GPS. It's the divine whisper that says, you were made for more, not just to exist, not just to function, but to ignite. And when you listen, truly listen, you begin to see. You see the life you were born to live. You see the work you were born to do. You see the person you must become to walk that path. And that vision, it changes you. It makes comfort feel like a cage. It makes small talk taste like ash. It makes mediocrity intolerable. You stop asking, what's the least I can do to get by? And you start demanding, what's the most I can become before I die? And that question, that sacred question, sets fire to your purpose. Purpose is not what you find, it's what you choose. It's what you decide to make matter. Purpose is born the moment you say, this will not end with me. I will not go quietly into the ground. My life will mean something. Not for applause, not for legacy, but because you were given breathe and that breath must count. And when you live from purpose, you no longer need motivation. You become moved. You become possessed. You no longer need permission to act. You act because you are. And action, consistent, unrelenting action, becomes your prayer. Action is the bridge between identity and reality. You can think, you can dream, you can meditate and visualize, but if you don't move, nothing moves. Success is not attracted to thoughts alone. It is attracted to embodied truth, to the man who wakes up and honors his word, to the woman who shows up when no one's watching, to the soul who says, I will be the evidence of what's possible through discipline. Discipline is not a punishment. It is devotion. It is sacred repetition. It is the ritual of kings and queens who build empires not with noise, but with silent, consistent action. Discipline is remembering that you don't need to feel like it, you just need to become it. Because feelings are fleeting, but identity is forged in fire. And when you act from identity, results follow like shadows. Because you're no longer dabbling. You're no longer visiting greatness on the weekends. You live there now. And when you live there, when greatness is no longer a destination, but your address, something remarkable begins to unfold. Gratitude begins to flood your being, not as a forced ritual, but as a natural state of existence. You begin to feel rich before the riches arrive. You begin to walk in power before the recognition comes. You begin to honor the moment you're in, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. Gratitude becomes your default frequency. Not because everything is easy, but because you've learned to see everything as useful. The delay teaches patience. The struggle teaches strength. The closed door teaches direction. You stop labeling things good or bad. You start asking, what is this trying to make of me? And when you live in that space, you stop resisting life and start partnering with it. You don't attract success by cursing the storm. You attract it by learning how to dance in the rain. You become adaptable. You stop needing life to bend to your plan. You learn to bend with life. You become water fluid, flexible, forceful when necessary, but never rigid. Because rigidity is the enemy of evolution, and evolution is the oxygen of success. Those who cannot adapt will be buried by change, but those who flow will rise with it. Adaptability isn't weakness. It's a quiet kind of wisdom. It's knowing who you are at your core and being willing to change everything else to serve that core. And when you adapt, when you adjust, when you keep moving forward despite the discomfort, something sacred is born. Resilience. Resilience is not just endurance. It is alchemy. It is the power to take pain and turn it into power, to take failure and forge wisdom, to take heartbreak and extract strength. Resilience is when the world throws dirt on you and you use it to grow roots. When people count you out, but you're still counting reps. When life knocks you down, but your soul whispers, get up. This is where champions are made. And you do. Not because it's easy, not because you want to, but because your identity no longer allows quitting to be an option. You've become the kind of person who doesn't need success to be visible because you've already made it inevitable. And that kind of resilience becomes rare. And what is rare becomes valuable. And what is valuable attracts. It attracts the people, the opportunities, the momentum. But it doesn't stop there, because now you're learning not just growing, but compounding. You're learning at a higher level, not just consuming information, but transforming with it. Learning is no longer a task, it's your weapon. You're no longer reading books to finish them. You're reading to become them. You're listening not to agree, but to expand. You're observing not to copy, but to understand. Because the learner always leads. And the one who stops learning stops earning. The world changes fast, but the one who learns faster always wins. Not because they're smarter, but because they are more committed to growth. And growth is the final law of attraction. You grow, life responds. You expand, life bends. You stretch, life yields. Because life is not happening to you. It's responding to you. It's echoing back your vibration, reflecting back your habits, mirroring back your identity. You don't chase success. You become someone it cannot ignore. You don't beg for abundance. You embody it until it finds its way home. And once you live from this truth, there is no going back. You stop playing small. You stop shrinking to protect others' comfort. You stop apologizing for the fire in your soul. You stop watering down your voice so the insecure can feel tall. You are no longer interested in fitting in. You are interested in becoming magnetic. Because success is not given, it is drawn. And you have become the magnet. So now, with the magnet forged, with your soul burning brighter than ever before, you stand at the edge of everything you've ever wanted, not with begging hands, but with open arms and unshakable identity. This is the moment where it all converges. The belief, the vision, the purpose, the discipline, the gratitude, the adaptability, the resilience, the learning, it all fuses into one force. You. Not the version of you that was handed to you by circumstance. Not the version of you shaped by wounds and whispers of self-doubt. Not the you that played small to fit a world that didn't know what to do with your power. But the real you. The version of you that has always been there waiting beneath the rubble of fear, of compromise, of hesitation. And now that version is here. You are the attraction. You are the vibration. You are the cause and. Success is the natural effect. There is no more striving, only becoming. You no longer hope to be noticed. You command attention through presence alone. You no longer hustle to be chosen. You choose yourself and make the world adjust. You no longer ask, will I make it? You know, I have already made it because I have become someone no failure can erase, no loss can define, no title can inflate, and no critic can break. You're no longer chasing results, you're living in alignment. And when you live in alignment, you attract what is meant for you effortlessly, magnetically, permanently. Because when you're clear, when you're focused, when you're disciplined from identity, the doors don't open because you knock. The doors open because you are the key. So this is your final call. Stop asking life for permission. Stop begging for breakthroughs. Stop wondering when it's your time. Your time is now. Your life does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. So become. Become the kind of person whose presence disrupts mediocrity. Become the kind of person who makes alignment look like abundance. Become the kind of person whose standards lift every room you walk into. Become the kind of person whose daily habits are a declaration of destiny. Become the kind of person who attracts success like gravity, not through noise, not through manipulation, but through unmistakable inner power. And when you down and you finally commit not to the goal, but to the growth, you will see success was never running from you. It was simply waiting for you to rise to meet it. And now you have. So don't chase, don't beg, don't force, just become. Because success is something you attract by the person you become.